Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. You have found your way today to twitch.tv/speedgaming to watch a Link to the Past Randomizer tournament round of 32 match between Linlinlin and Buane. We are mostly in the round of 64 still for this tournament, but as that winds down, the round of 32 is also starting to get underway. We got to this match by having Buane take a 2-0 win over Ace0 and Linlinlin taking a 2-0 win over Voosh in the round of 64. So tonight calling this race, I am Reg. I am joined by Hammer. Hammer, why don't you tell us what we're going to be seeing?
Yeah, no problem. So this is the first of potentially 3 for our runners. So all the settings are what everyone's used to. We're not going to have anything too crazy. It's going to be open mode, 7/7 crystals. We're not going to have a fast Ganon, so we're going to see the full Ganon's Tower as it's intended. We might even see a tile room big key, and then we'd see the full Ganon's Tower as it was intended. But that's the speculation for later. Yeah, there's nothing special going on. These are just the regular old settings. The loser of this game will get to make an adjustment if they so choose. So we'll have something to talk about perhaps in the interviews, depending on how things go. I am super looking forward to this. GDQ is over. It was awesome to watch. I didn't get to go, unfortunately, but it was awesome to watch the community come together. But now that they are done, we are back to Randomizer, and we are underway. Flippers. All right, so that's an interesting first grab.
Who wants to visit the Houlihan room?
Well, we're going to need a glove at this point, as we do get a quick map check, and 3 regular crystals in the light world look like to me.
Yeah, that was definitely 3 regular crystals. Yeah, seriously though, Flippers cut out any possible early Houlihan plays, although in these modes, we don't tend to see them before Kakariko anyways. So they'd mostly open up a lot of things, make routing easier around the Ice Rod Cave, Zora, and so on.
And I'll tell you what, between that first item being the flippers and our tree drop here being bombs, yeah, we're doing okay early game right now. Now we just need a handful of rupees for the bottle vendor and maybe some more for Zora, and we'll be set early game. Was that a fairy in a bottle?
It looked like it to me, yeah. So not likely we're going to see an Aghanim kill for that. That's sort of a big moonshot there. Linlin's actually killed that little thing twice, so he may be setting up a tier 3 tree pull just to check that as well. Did get bombs off the initial tier 1, but maybe hoping for money or something on the big one.
Either that or he just really doesn't like that eel pickle, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think bush crabs do count, which I think would give him 4 at this point. I don't know. We'll see when he pulls it, because if nothing else, he's going to pull it and get bombs in the worst case. Can't complain about that.
Right, exactly. And even if he does pull it and get bombs, it might still be a successful... Yeah, so I think he may have been 1 short. Either that or tier 3 is the same as tier 1, which that's happened before.
It's Randomizer. It'll do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Buane's made his way to... He's where the items are.
I'm not sure I fully agree on where the items are, at least not for now. We've gotten 10 arrows and 140 rupees. Okay, and a sword, so yeah, I'll take that back. Never mind.
Oh, Linlin's doing something fun. He took that whirlpool with his flippers. He's going straight to Ice Rod Cave. I actually am really intrigued by this play. This is not something I would have expected.
You know what? I really like this routing. He's got enough bombs to easily get through Ice Rod Cave and then Mini Moldorm Cave and the like. And this will allow Linlinlin to, if they so desire, go ahead and get Mini Moldorm Cave out of the way and then do the dam and go straight to Aghanis Cave and not, as we see another sword and Ice Rod Cave and a save and quit, so never mind.
Okay, I know what he's... Okay, well, Buane just found a mirror. That's pretty big. We have seen 2 swords so far, too, but I know what Linlinlin was doing there with that save and quit. He's going to do basically what you were describing earlier, Mini Moldorm Cave Damagina, but he's just doing Ice Rod Cave like that because it's fast.
That's a fair point. Bottle Vendor gave us some literacy, so that early book's kind of interesting.
Linlinlin is choosing the castle. With that sword, I would expect him to do the front dungeon as well, but who knows? I'm hoping he goes to Kakariko before he goes to the South Shore and to the Agina area, just so he has that book.
Yeah, the
But
book
we'll see.
would make it quite a bit easier. As we see some blue goo in the chicken hut, so we'll be able to check our favorite sick kid here in just a second.
Yep, great place for it. Minimizes the amount of walking you have to do. Walking is slow.
It is. Something else that would minimize the amount of walking are the boots. It'd be nice to see those, as we do get some magic over on the tree for another tree pull there. So everything is somewhat useful, I'd say. I feel like there's better places to get magic, but not the worst thing you could have gotten.
Yeah, bombs are basically the number one thing pretty much any runner will care about on the tree pull. Red rupees maybe is a second, but it's going to be bombs is the big one.
Yeah, very, very much so. For those of you who are asking, the flippers were the very first chest we opened. They were in Sanctuary.
Yep. Neither runner started at Link's house and went straight to Uncle to seed, although Linlinlin has already been there with his, I'm going to call it unusual but intriguing routing, where he went Lost Woods to Ice Rod Cave and then to Castle. Buane grabbing the trash.
Yeah, might as well. You're already here. 5 minutes in, chat's already calling for Aghanim. We still need a couple of things before that. I'm overly concerned with that, but yeah, we don't have any parts of our Dark World access as of right now. As we see another bottle.
I mean, the only thing we need to do to be able to reach Aghanim himself is for Buane to go to Ice Rod Cave or Linlinlin to go to Kakariko, and then for them to find the lamp. You don't really want to play. Point,
but doing
you don't really want to play Aga without a pearl.
Right, exactly. That's the issue, or I guess the good thing about it is that Aga is much less likely to pay off unless we have that moon pearl. Because if we don't have the moon pearl, the only thing we can get is sitting on the pyramid ledge.
Right.
And
there's our lamp. Well, Moon Pearl can be on the pyramid ledge. It can be behind progression on the pyramid ledge. But yes. I think pretty much every single runner ever will last location that unless they're in super gamble mode.
Yeah, we also did see the hook shot there, which is nice. That's a nice movement item, especially since we don't have the boots yet. So we get some quicker movement in certain areas, which our runners will be taking advantage of, I'm sure, because, gotta go fast.
Yeah. Flippers plus hook shots also one of the classic kill Aghanim go to the West Dark World scenarios. So that's a thing. I'm more excited to see when they get the gloves and they can go, well, gloves or flute, go to the east side of Death Mountain for a ton of items.
All right, Linlinlin taking the strategy of staying on the other side and managing to take out that last mini Moldorm as Buane grabs his Master Sword.
Linlinlin not been to Kakariko yet, no book. Probably going to walk his way out and go to the dam after this, though, because why wouldn't he?
Yeah, that's what I would anticipate. Not having gone to Kakariko yet isn't a big deal as long as Linlinlin doesn't decide to go ahead and do Aghanis Cave. If they decide to do that, then it's going to hurt not having that book.
Without the book, he's missing out on A, whatever's on the ledge, and B, at most 2 items with a fairly strong chance of 0 in the palace itself.
Yeah, without those boots, we've got a decent chance of Desert just giving us a nope and turn back around, please.
Yeah. That ledge is guaranteed to be some form of item, not necessarily a useful one. And that is something. He'll at least be able to see that, though, and know whether he'll need to book it back once he does eventually make his way to Kakariko. Which, geez, what a weird sentence to say in Link to the Past.
Yeah, and with Linlinlin heading over, this is now going to be a time loss, especially if there is something in that desert location that we can pick up.
Well, you say that, but if there's nothing in the desert and he doesn't go in, then I'd go so far as to say that's a time save.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I just mean if there is something in desert that we're supposed to pick up, then that's gonna hurt a little bit. But outside of that, we'll just have to see when Buane comes over here or when Linlinlin comes back.
Well, he didn't check the ledge. That's a glove and that's a pearl on Buane's side, so party all around today.
Yep, we are still missing one item for Dark World access, though. We either need the other glove in the form of the mitts, or we need a hammer. So, for those of you hoping for Aga, you still have some hope.
A little bit of hope. That glove opened up a lot, though. We've got the back of the estate here that Linlin's dropping into. We've got the mountain as well. If Linlin goes to Kakariko first, gets his mirror and his book, then that's just additional checks on the mountain for him in the form of the Ether Tablet and Tower of Hera.
Yeah, that's a fair point. This Kakariko skip could really come back to bite Linlinlin if they decide to go ahead and go up the mountain first.
Starting at Link's house doesn't really look like that. It's looking to me like probably, yeah, the south route up to the north, and then he'll just walk straight out of Kakariko to the mountain. So could even say it's paying out in that regard. It's going to let him just not have to save and quit everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a nice heads-up routing there, as the hook shot shows its tendency to short shot in certain situations. Is really annoying.
If I recall correctly, when the hook shot does that, it's literally connecting with the guard's line of sight, because the guard's line of sight is basically just it firing projectiles out, invisible ones. And when they collide with Link, then that's when the guard sees you.
Huh. I did not know that. As the hospital gives us the shovel and nothing else.
Yeah, that ain't fun. He's skipping out on Eastern Palace, which it's a crystal and he cannot full clear it, so he's also got the magic mirror, so he can combo that in with a pod play later.
Speaking of, one thing that we didn't commentate on is the fact that the hospital had told us that we have Green Pendant Swamp. That's gonna be fun.
I'm normally really big on Pendant Swamp just because I don't like Swamp Palace, and Pendant Swamp is a great excuse to not go there. But we've already got the mirror, the flippers, and the hook shot, so a little bit iffy.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where the hammer could be behind that bombable wall, and wouldn't that be hilarious?
Yeah, that could be the case, but it's more just we already have all the tools we need to full clear Swamp. At that point, just for our sanity and just needing to hunt fewer items, it may as well be a crystal.
Yeah, that's a good point. Alright, so as the runners are kind of following over each other's steps for the moment, we're 12 minutes in, we have a decent amount of items. The seed has been somewhat friendly so far. Obviously that can turn in a moment's notice, and there's still a boatload of things that we're going to require to finish this seed. But so far it's not been too stingy with our key items.
No, the primary thing we're looking for at this point is the hammer to let us definitely avoid a trip up Aghanim's tower. And if we find that, we're in great shape. If we find the mitts for general Dark World access, we're still in all right shape. If we have to kill Aghanim, we're in for a lot of long walks and circles around the Dark World.
Yeah, pretty much. At any point where Aghanim's required, especially when you have the hook shot, and you get that early, and that's kind of your west side Dark World access, it becomes a game of let's check everything right now so we don't have to go back. But Linlinlin grabbed that Master Sword and headed straight out.
Is Is this faster to go to the mountain this way than walking from Kakariko Village? I guess it probably is if he's saving and quitting.
Yeah, potentially. I feel like it most likely is. Since I think Linlinlin already did do the Lost Woods checks. If they hadn't, then it would have definitely been faster to do those and then just go up the mountain. But because those had already been done, it made it a bit easier to just go ahead and save and quit.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think, did they fix the, well, I say fix, that's not really the right word for it, because it was put in as a fix, but did they remove the delay on save and quit? Do you know?
I actually, from the little bit that I play, I think it's worse this version than it was last version, and I don't think that's changed. So,
Okay. Because I know that they put in like a 1.5-second delay on save and quits as a fix for bugs around music. And I guess that's still there. I may be reading too much into the impact that has on save and quits in situations like what Lynn did.
I mean, it's a good point. Like, if you're sitting there and you're not sure which way something's going to go, it's something to consider. You know, like, okay, well, the save and quit's going to take an extra 1.5 seconds, so maybe I'll throw that in there and only do save and quits when I'm fairly certain they're going to be faster.
Yeah. The runners generally know their stuff a lot better than I do sitting here in the commentary booth, though, so entirely possible that Lynn knew for certain saving and quitting was faster there, and that's why he did it.
Yeah, and chat is confirming what you have said. All right, so our pendants are, in fact, Skullwoods, Pod, and Green over at Swamp. And the other two dungeons over in the south being Ice Palace and Myers are vanilla. Our vanilla 5/6 crystals are 5/6. They're just kind of switched.
Yeah, that's not too bad. It does kind of hurt having Pendant Pod with Crystal Eastern when we've got the early mirror. Runners are going to be less inclined to combine those two just because Pendant Pod is slow and there's a hammer.
Alright, so now we can officially say that Aghanim is dead.
Yes, definitely no reason we're going to see Agus Tower climb this seed. I don't think that death was intentional, but it'll at least get him a health refill.
Yeah, not going to lose too much time. Going to get a health refill. Not bad either way.
Buane's got the fetch quest chain. Chat loves to see that, but at this point, that's just painful for him.
Yeah, pretty much. And at this point, speaking of, I think we're going to see a relatively new glitch that we have found. So get your hook shots ready. It's time for the hair pot clip.
Yep, he'll bomb himself here, then he can just hook shot the pot and drop right in, walk through that portal, and he's on the 5th floor.
That's one of the most awesome parts about this game, is that this game has been around for going on about 30 years now, and we still find new ways to break it. As we see the mitts, so the mountain is loaded so far.
Mountain is loaded. Buane cannot get there right now, even if he wants to. He has got no way. He's got to go to Agina's cave and get the gloves out of there. He's also saving and quitting out of the mushroom turn-in, but he has the magic powder, so he doesn't care about a potential fake powder glitch later.
Yeah, what you really don't want to see at this point is Buane choose Aghanim before choosing Agana. And thankfully, that does not appear to be the case. We're going to go ahead and get the gloves here, and that'll lead him up the mountain.
Although Chad actually raises a good point here. Linlinlin never went to the Zora area, does not have the Moon Pearl. So those mitts, he can get the Super Bunny cave chests on Dark Death Mountain, because falling down inside that cave, which you're required to do to reach the chests, activates the Super Bunny glitch, lets you open chests. Pretty useful. But he cannot get the Hookshot cave items, because he'll be a bunny.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not one that I had considered until you said something.
Meanwhile, if the next progression is in Hookshot Cave, Buane's actually in a good position here because I don't see any way that the glove he's about to get doesn't send him right up the mountain, where he'll find all of that and be able to get Hookshot Cave on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. The only alternative at this point, I mean, the only thing that could happen is that Buane gets detoured a little bit by Desert, because Buane is going to have a glove, already has the book, already has the lamp, so the only thing that he could possibly need to clear Desert is the boots. So I could see Buane dipping into Desert real quick, although with that glove, I feel like the mountain would still win. Although maybe not.
Well, for the desert, he is right here. His other alternative would be to try to hold out for the flute and combine it with Misery Mire later in the game because he already has the mirror. But from his perspective, any number of items that he needs for that could be in the desert. The flute itself, the second glove.
Yeah, just bombs on the ledge there. And yeah, all that glove really unlocks at this point for Buane is going to be back of escape, and or getting to the back of escape more easily, I should say.
He's already
technically unlocked.
He's already done that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I missed that then. So yeah, that all those gloves point to at this point, other than potentially finishing Desert, is the mountain itself. So he'll be up here in just a minute.
Paradox Cave has 2 Y items so far, neither of which progress anybody. And there's a not boots locked desert. Buane can clear this dungeon, get his crystal. Buane can get 2 items out of the desert as well. So yeah, this is pretty much the ideal desert palace at this point. Also strongly implies we may not see boots this seed, unless there's progression in the Bonk Rocks or the King's Tomb. Because we've got the hookshot to cover pretty much everything else that the boots logically lock.
Yep, that main thing being Mire. So it is nice to see that on one hand, because it means that you can clear Desert, but then on the other hand, somewhere in your rando planning brain, your stomach kind of drops and goes, oh, well, those boots might be really far out of the way now.
Yeah, like if they're in GT or something and neither runner's going to see them and there's no advantage to be had.
Yeah, but regardless of advantages, I'm pretty sure that almost all of our runners at any given point would rather take the boots than not. Regardless of what their opponent is or isn't doing, if you could choose between having the boots early and your opponent having the boots early and then you not having the boots early and them not having the boots early, I feel like most people would still rather save those couple minutes the boots can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the boots are, from a player perspective, just more fun than not having them. Like, there's no arguing with that point, I don't think. Well, here's a Landmola's fight for Buane. Bombs and Master Sword is not a combination you see very often for this. But here it goes.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately the only option Buane has.
I believe the exact term used in the code for fighting Landmolas is can kill most things, which a sword can most definitely do, even if bombs cannot. And there's Landmola's dead.
Linlinlin getting the ripoff from the fish, but the non-ripoff from the ledge item, so I guess it all kind of evens out.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Buane grabbing their first crystal to go with Linlinlin's Tower of Heracles, we're at 1 apiece.
Yep. I'm expecting Hype K from Lin as the next play here. Buane's going to go back into the desert to get his second item, and then he's got to be up the mountain. I don't think he's got any plays left besides the interior of Eastern Palace.
Yeah, which both runners have decided to skip for the time being. Not terribly uncommon, seeing as Eastern is a crystal. What I've noticed that if Eastern is a pendant, our runners are more likely to kind of jump in there early, and then hopefully not ever have to deal with it ever again. Whereas if it's a crystal, our runners are going to be more likely to want to try and clear it the first go round.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct and consistent with my experience as well.
Unfortunately, the last item here, all the way in the vanilla big key chest, and we'll see what is sitting in Hype Cave.
That's
Okay,
hype.
Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, 45 rupees, 10 arrows, Cane of Samaria. I guess not terrible. Not really what we were looking for, but it'll do. It's better than we were probably expecting.
Who wants to go find 2 rods in Turtle Rock now?
Ooh. It would have to be Bombos, which honestly wouldn't surprise me at this given point.
We'll find out not that long from now. I'm sure when Buane does his Dark Mountain checks.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to get a full Dark Death Mountain and Light Death Mountain clear, for that matter, from Buane, because he's going to have everything he needs to be able to do so, either in his inventory now or waiting up on the mountain for him.
Yep. The big thing, hopefully, that we see from him is like Linlinlin going to Hera before the east side, just because Hera area has the progression in the form of hammer and mitts, while the west side's pretty empty in the light world, or east side's empty in the light world, excuse me. But either way, it works. Actually, no, it doesn't work if he goes east side first because he doesn't have the hammer to get back west without save and quit. So,
right, exactly. So it'd be a situation where it would have to be a double dip, for lack of a better term, of the mountain if Buane does hook shot side first.
save and quit makes that not too terribly bad, though, because you can just start in the old man cave.
Alright, 24 digs for 20 rupees, so that's a miss.
Buane picked up the light world trash, Lin picked up the dark world trash.
And it does look like Buane is going to go ahead and get Hera out of the way first. So, as you said, he'll go ahead and get that progression out of the way before heading over to the east side.
Yeah, and I think this is generally the way to go with the items he has, because you can jump back down from doing Hera to hookshot over to the east side if you don't find anything, but you can't get from east back to west without a save and quit. With his current items, that's going to change in about 20 seconds.
And we have a vanilla tempered sword.
That's pretty nice. Tempered sword, probably the second, yeah, not the most impactful, but the second most impactful combat upgrade in the game, behind silver arrows.
Yeah, most definitely. I think you could make an argue for a master sword over fighter sword, but still, getting tempered is super nice because you're basically one-shotting most of the enemies in the game. As our bat gives us a complimentary upgrade, we got a shield.
Yeah. The argument for Master Sword being more impactful than Tempered Sword is that it takes you from a state of cannot win the game to can win the game. That's literally the only argument for it.
Yeah, basically.
It's a fairly strong one, but it's still it.
Alrighty, so without boots, we get to just smack hammer pegs down one at a time here.
The sound effect is pretty nice for that, though.
I don't know. I'm personally more of a fan of the thump.
Yeah. The hammer dash is better, but when you're just hearing it repeatedly back to back like that, the one for just ordinary hammer hits is pretty nice. I'm a fan.
That's a fair point. Looks like we're going to get a couple more checks here in the Village of Outcasts, and then we're probably going to see a Thieves' Town clear.
Yeah, he's got the hammer, so there's literally no reason to avoid it. There is no risk of leaving items behind. And even with only 6 hearts, I don't think he really would consider himself at risk of dying or being unable to complete the dungeon in that regard. Lin's pretty good at the game.
Yep, and the 7th heart there helps. Meanwhile, Buane takes out Moldorm without too much difficulty. Moldorm was relatively nice today, so Buane goes ahead and gets his 2nd crystal.
Yep, Lin's gonna equalize that before too long. I don't remember off the top of my head how long these two things take, so I can't say for sure whether he'll do it before Buane's done with the mountain, but not going to be that far off, I don't think.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to use what would normally be NMG times anyways, because Linlinlin does not have the boots.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have a vanilla Quake requirement for walking into Turtle Rock, so at the very least, without that Quake medallion, Buane is not going to get to make the decision of should I go in here with no rods?
Yeah.
Now, as always,
for relief,
there's a decent chance that the key will be under the doormat, so to speak. We've got 2 more checks for it, and then Super Bunny Cave and then Spike Cave. It could be sitting there too. That was not a very helpful hookshot cave at all, actually.
Yeah. Lin did just pick up the Magic Cave, which put Spike Cave in logic for him.
And chat pointing out that Buane has not gone to Hype Caves. It does not have the cane yet, so disregard the idiot in the booth.
Oh, that's a big find. I can't imagine he'll be missing that Samaria very long. My expectation would probably be at this point for Buane that he would go activate his flute and then go Dark World from the village portal from there. And that would take him all the way around to Hype Cave. But yeah, Linlinlin could have had that flute even without the Moon Pearl. He doesn't, but he could have.
Yeah, that's a good point. They might be kicking themselves upon grabbing it at some later point, because it is going to be required for Meyer, so we're going to have to find that one at the very least. It might be the Go Mode item, so we might be able to skip a Hookshot Cave on Linlinlin's side, but at the very least, we are going to need that flute.
And then while Buane gets old checks out of the way for us, I think we've seen 2 items in Thieves' Town so far. I think we've seen a heart piece and the magic cape. I can't remember if we saw a 3rd.
I believe you are correct.
Looks like Buane starting at the Sank. He's going to be off to Kakariko, presumably to activate that flute, go to the Dark World, just like I was thinking earlier.
So
chat's also sorry. I was going to say, chat's just confirming for us that we have seen just 2 dungeon items in Thieves' Town so far. So the big chest. Oh, no. There's still a compass to find. So we've seen 3 non-dungeon items so far. 1 to find between the big chest and the boss.
Yep. And since Linlinlin is going ahead and checking this chest will contain the compass. If they had not, well, never mind, I'll take it back.
It's still trash.
What do you mean? Those 20 rupees are absolutely required.
Buane showing off a fun piece of tech that I only learned fairly recently myself. Normally, if you activate the flute, there's a bit of a delay before you can play it again, unless you do one of 2 things. You either flute dash with the boots, or you unleash a spin attack. Either one of those will let you call the flute immediately after activating.
Interesting. I didn't know about the second one. I'm pretty sure just about everyone has heard the flute dash where, you just repeatedly sound off as rapidly as you can because it's fun.
So Meyer is Bombos. Buane still has no Cane of Samaria.
So an interesting thought here, between the items that both of our runners have, Ice Palace is completely and totally and fully in logic.
Yeah. The only thing making between technically accurate there is the Cane. But that's just a logic lock that I think we really don't care about for the most part.
No, most definitely not.
I mean, it is slightly more interesting than it would usually be because Ice Palace is a 5/6 crystal. However, in this seed, Misery Mire is also a 5/6 crystal, so the implication that the Cane can't be at Pyramid Fairy holds regardless of how Ice Palace keys are laid out.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but then on the flip side, because we do have the Cane and the Hookshot and a Fire Source, we could go ahead and get Mire out of the way too.
Yep. Really, the only things we're missing at this point are the Quake Medallion to get inside Turtle Rock, the 2 rods to clear Turtle Rock, and the bow. That's it.
Yep, that's about 4 items away here, and Linlinlin is going to go ahead and take the purple chest through a little bit of fun.
He cannot take it into the dungeon unless he uses one of the drop-down entries. So he has to abandon it outside, but it's still going to be waiting there for him when he gets back.
Alright, so that's 1 item. Skullwood's hiding 1 more somewhere.
We can kill land moles too now. And the mirror makes Skullwoods fairly nice. But that assumes he finds a key in this chest. Oh no, that's progression.
Alternatively, you could just go ahead and find the second item and nope straight out of Skullwoods.
Yeah, if he found a key, then the mirror would make routing through that dungeon really nice, just especially for not having to wait on wall masters in certain rooms. But finding the item's even better.
Alright, so we're going to get 2 checks here. Butter Sword. Alright, not going to be picking that up.
Yeah, it doesn't save much time at this point for these runners.
No, you're very much correct. But then the question is, if Buane for some reason goes to the northern side here where Linlinlin is before dropping off or completing the Smith chain, we might see Buane pick up Tempered. It's unlikely, but the reasoning behind it would be quite a bit more sound, as Tempered does save quite a bit of time over Master Sword, as you referenced earlier.
Yeah, if Buane goes up that way and sees that as a Tempered Sword, I would be a little surprised to see him not grab it. And yeah, to answer chat about why the gold sword isn't generally worth it if you're good, the Tempered Sword kills pretty much every enemy we care about in one shot to begin with. The primary place where you might think about it saving time is on Ganon, but if you're good at the Ganon fight with the Tempered Sword, you can clear both of the first 2 phases in one cycle with that fairly easily. And that's the only place where the gold sword would save time in that fight. The one place where it does actually potentially save you time is on the Trinex fight, where if you're good, you can get behind him before the fire and ice eggs come out, and you can kill them from behind before he does the neck launch attack, the so-called 0 cycle fight. But that's pretty much the only place in the game where gold sword saves significant time.
Yeah, pretty much. The only other situation I could think that Well, there are two other bosses that Gold Sword make a bit easier. If you don't have silvers or vitreous, then Gold Sword can make that pretty quick, as you don't have to do spins to do absolutely destructive amounts of damage. And then Gold Sword makes Cold Stare pretty much a joke. But outside of that, that's not even, we're not even really talking about time saves at that point. We're just talking about laughably easy fights.
Yeah, that's definitely a difficulty concern more than a time concern, because you're talking on the scale of like maybe 2 or 3 seconds per fight there. But if you are concerned about the difficulty, which these runners making the top 32 of the tournament really aren't, but if you are concerned, then picking up that gold sword would be very valid.
Yeah, personally, I probably would have, but I don't expect either of our runners to give it a choice. It's something that, if they open it in a chest, well, heck, it's right here, I'll take it. But outside of that, they're not going to be going out of their way at all to grab it.
Yeah, because that gold sword, that's probably what, like 15 to 20 seconds to get through that cave, including the loading screen times for Lin. And I think we just talked through it, probably saving maybe 10.
Yeah, maybe. I think it actually might be longer than 15 to 20 seconds, but I'm not positive. I haven't timed it at all. Yay! Bombo's tablet gave us a heart.
Yep. Lin's done with his wandering around for the most. Well, I thought he was done. Is he taking this over to Palace of Darkness area?
Yeah, it might be. It makes sense since Linlinlin does not have the flute. Actually, I think we're just going to see a swamp clear or a swamp dip, which is kind of interesting.
I mean, at this point, it's got to be a clear, I would think. There's no reason to leave this dungeon half done unless you subscribe to the get the first progression out of the pendant dungeon and immediately leave strategy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. With our runners still needing, at the very least, with Linlinlin still needing flute, 2 rods, and a bow at minimum, and from their side potentially needing ether as well. Yeah, this probably isn't going to be a grab the first thing and then get out play.
Yeah, it's definitely intriguing because we've got Ice Palace on the table that he can full clear.
Yeah, but then on the flip side, without the flute, it saves quite a bit of walking time to go ahead and do this.
Yeah, especially if he just leaves and then walks right over to Ice Palace after doing this, especially if he's not satisfied with whatever progression he finds here.
I mean, I imagine Linlinlin would go ahead and do that regardless. Because unless you... Yeah, I can't imagine anything that would make me stray away from doing Ice Palace, especially because we know they're not going to find the flute here, so... From their perspective, flute's still going to be out there somewhere, so you're still prescribing to the go ahead and hit up things as you run across them method, since you don't have a way to quick travel around Hyrule.
Yeah, that's accurate knowing what we know, but I'm just thinking from Lin's perspective, the flute could be here in Swamp, and if he were to find that, even though we know he won't, that would pull him away, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like we would probably get a save and quit upon the completion of Swamp as much as Lin is going to, and then a duck unstucking, so to speak. And yeah, Buane is doing the Smith Chain first, so Buane's going to go ahead and get their Vanilla Tempered Sword, and then at this point, almost definitely, as you said, going to leave that Butter Sword sitting on Bumper Cave if they so even choose to check it.
I would be surprised to see it go unchecked, just because we know he's going to have to visit Skull Woods to find that Quake at some point. I guess there's always the chance that's his Go Mode item, but checking that after Skull Woods is always a very reasonable play, especially when you've done the South stuff already.
All Alright, so far, outside of that half magic in the first chest of swamp, which is another item that that is more of the makes things easier but not necessarily faster school of thought, swamp is coming up somewhat empty so far.
I mean, it's been 3 checks, 4 checks, 3 items and a big key so far. That's not too bad. It does at least increase the odds that we'll be able to skip the left side, even if none of these items have actually been helpful.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But generally, especially if you're playing a one-on-one match, if you're going to be dipping a pendant dungeon, you want to find something in there that encourages you that your opponent's going to have to be dipping it as well.
Yeah, or something like chat's calling out the boots that your opponent may just never find and would still be absolutely fantastic to have.
Yeah, especially 44 minutes in, we're still going to have almost definitely at minimum 45 more minutes to this race. Grabbing the boots now gives us a whole bunch of time to have boots save us down the road. And that's not even counting the couple of checks that boots do in fact unlock.
Yeah, at this point it is just 2 checks plus 1 potential big key location in Ganon's Tower, but that's pretty small time.
Yeah, it's a good point. For those in chat who are asking, the Cane of Samaria is in fact in Hype Cave. So Buane will be grabbing that in most likely just a moment. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bombo's tablet check and then a Hype Cave check.
Yeah, that's my expectation as well here.
And I think that we did find the big key. I don't know that we saw either the map or the compass. This might be a situation where there's only 1 item left in here.
That is correct, yeah. So if the big chest has the item, then no need to even go left side. Oh wait, chat's correcting, saying the compass was on the boss, so 2 items to find.
Gotcha, so we're looking at 2 items, okay.
That's unfortunate, because it means if you want all the items, you're going left side.
Well, it doesn't matter. With the map being there, there would be at least 1 item over on the left-hand side, even if we were correct about compass not being elsewhere.
The dream is dead. Long live the dream.
Long live the left wing of swamp.
Buane can full clear both, 5, 6. Well, no, he can. Bombos is the Meyer entry. I'm getting that mixed up. So yeah, Buane can clear both 5, 6 crystal dungeons now if he wants to. Looks like that may be his choice, pulling out the flute here.
Well, at the very least, we're going to get a Meyer area check.
He's already done this. That's why we know Bombos is the entry requirement.
That's right. Goodness gracious. So yeah, he's going to go ahead and get Meyer out of the way. This could be interesting because depending on when Lin finds that flute, this could end up being a go mode dungeon for Lin. And if that's the case and the big key is somewhat early and the items are somewhat late, there could be a decent amount of time save here. Meyer is one of those variable dungeons that can either be very quick or very much not, depending on what you're looking for and where you have to go to find it.
Yeah, basically the only dungeon that rivals it in that regard is Pod. Nothing else really comes close, I don't think. Also, just to recap for chat a bit, the flute was in the Super Bunny Cave on Dark World Death Mountain. Linlinlin did not have the Moon Pearl when he first went up the mountain, despite finding the Mitts and the Hammer up there. And even though he could have chosen to sequence break that cave to get those 2 items, he chose not to, so he missed the flute.
Yeah, as this game goes on and Lin continues putting aside those locations, it becomes more and more likely that that's going to be a very important turning point.
Early Meyer big key. Buane's taking it straight to the boss. This I feel like this has become really the standard routing for Misery Meyer, even when you're not in go mode. And I can say that I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's not a bad call. It's fairly similar, especially because there's one item there, and if Vitreous drops the second one, then we don't even have to talk about having to deal with anything else.
Chat's asking where the second shield was. We saw one at the Magic Bat. That was the first one. Linlinlin picked one up in the middle section of Skull Woods. That was his fire shield. And then we just recently saw him pick up the mirror shield out of the last chest of Swamp Palace. So that's your shields for this seed.
Yeah, the seed has been fairly friendly in terms of doling out shields. And burritos, because, well, there's a burrito.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we haven't really seen this seed so far as like luxury items go, is a red mail. We've seen all 4 bottles. We've got half magic, all the swords, all the shields, powder or even.
Alright, so it's been a while since we've seen it, so you're going to have to refresh my memory. Where was Bombos Medallion located?
It was super free. It was before we had Dark World access. I think it may have been in the mini Moldworm cave. Yeah, chat's also saying mini Moldworm, so.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Buane with no bow, just having to slash at the big eye. Did show off the damage boost strat that you see in the vanilla no major glitches speedrun.
And there's our second item.
Yep. And that's why that's become the de facto standard Misery Mire route.
Yeah, that's definitely a situation where Buane is going ahead and patting himself on the back for an excellent routing decision there, because that just saved several minutes.
And I wonder if Ice Palace is the next for him. That is the other full clearable crystal he's got. Now, yep, it will be his 5th, but he won't be able to reach the 6th or 7th yet.
Yeah, and at this point, with a full clear of Swamp done, I mean, I feel like, and both items out of Skull Woods, yeah, we're pretty much looking at overworld checks and pod, and potentially some of Turtle Rock, but that is very much dependent upon where we get Fire Rod locked out of Turtle Rock.
There's still 3 items to find in Ice. I think we've seen Map Compass Big Key and the only 3 checks Lynn's done.
Yeah, Ice Palace is doing that thing where it's basically just sticking its tongue out at us and going, no key items for you.
Also, someone in chat's asking about it. So just to recap, Buane's route through Misery Mire, he did the spike chest first, which had the big key. Then he went straight to the back. He hookshotted to the bridge chest and then fell down so he would get back to the left side of that room, went to Vitreous. And I guess when I say the de facto standard Misery Mire route, I do mean bridge, then spike room, then Vitreous if the big key is in one of the first 2 chests. So the route Buane took wasn't technically the one that I normally would see, but it saved additional time even over what I would normally consider standard because he checked the bridge chest faster than a normal runner would have. Hookshotting over to the bridge chest, if you haven't yet checked it, is a fun strat in Mire, but it's also something that you don't see very often because people don't skip the bridge chest very often.
Yeah, but Buane basically took a little bit of a gamble here, hoping that he'd at least find one item somewhere in the back, and found them both along the way. So Mire was a very fast clear.
Yeah, Buane's routing of Mire this seed turned out to be 100% and totally optimal.
Alrighty, so we're going to see some items here in just a moment because Ice Palace doesn't really have a choice but to give them to us. Alright.
I'm
that
pretty
was the last.
I'm pretty sure we found every single non-item thing in this dungeon.
Well, let's see. We've got this chest. All right, so there's one. We're getting there, guys.
And then next one's going to be in that U-shaped room with the spike that Buane just walked through, and the last one will be in the iced tea room. Or I guess actually there's still one more small key to find, and Vitreous as well. Or not Vitreous, Cold Stare could have item. Yeah, Cold Stare's got item.
Yeah, so Ice Palace being absolutely as physically annoying as it can.
As expected of Ice Palace, Swamp Palace did the same, so it's just that sort of seed. Oh, we've already seen Ice Tea, and I was just looking at Buane doing other things, apparently. It was an item, though, so I was still right about that.
Yeah, you were correct, if not for the wrong reasons. But either way, we are going to get a lovely Cold Stare clear here. The Tempered Sword is basically what's going to make this not terrible. Because if we were sitting at Master Sword with what we have right now, we would have either some Master Sword strats or more likely some Hammer strats. And Hammer Cold Stare is not exactly fun. Especially not with Green Mail.
But with Tempered Sword, just watch what Lin's doing. He was trying to trap it in the corner, got hit by a falling chunk of ice, and one got away. But still pretty clean considering that. Should be one more hit, yep. Progression.
I mean, not only progression, but that was insulting progression.
Do you take that straight to Turtle Rock, or do you go somewhere like Pod first?
Ooh. Oh, I mean, I think for Linlinlin, the choice is to go up the mountain because they also have all of the Dark World mountain checks left over. For Buane, that might be a little more of a toss-up.
Yeah, it is the mountain here for Lin. That'll take him. He'll get his flute. He'll get absolutely nothing else unless he decides to dip into Turtle Rock, which, if he's waited this long, he's almost certain to. And hey, if the Ice Rod turns out in here, then that's just going to be a great play on his part. But yes, chat, this seed is now a hunt for the two silliest hunt items in the game, the Ice Rod and the bow. V31 actually did wonders for reducing the frequency of bow hunts just by putting a second one in the pool, but it's still silly. And Buane showed exactly what Lin was trying to do before he got pelted by falling ice. That's how you do the Cold Stare fight. That's why the Gold Sword does not save hardly any time on that fight.
We were hoping this seed would be nice. However, that's rolling the dice. Bombos was free, because of course it would be. 'Tis a song of fire rod and ice.
Yeah, chat's reminding me, Buane still hasn't been to Skull Woods, does not have a Quake medallion, cannot take that fire rod right up the mountain. But he can take that fire rod right to Skull Woods. Or wherever he's going from here. Is this going to be Swamp?
That's kind of an interesting play, doing Swamp before Skull Woods.
I mean, at this point, it's basically got to be a pendant dungeon for him because he's done everything else. But looking at the list of pendant dungeons this seed, I am super biased on this matter, but Swamp would literally be the last one I pick of the three.
I mean, it's also kind of interesting because Buane has Pyramid Fairy unlocked now.
Swamp is the most item dense of the dungeons he's got, especially with the green pendant. It's just super slow, and I just super hate Swamp Palace.
That's fair. We also haven't seen the green pendant turn in yet from Linlinlin, so that's another item location that could be out there somewhere. Although with Pod and Eastern so far unchecked, that entire area, other than the Sage's Closet itself, has been is wide open for us.
Yeah. And here's Lin going into Turtle Rock. If the Ice Rod's here, he's suddenly in great shape, especially with Buane equalizing the swamp play.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and that is the main reason that we do not call runners being ahead or behind until we, at the very least, know where everything is. Even then, I prefer not to call it until we have someone in go mode. But it'll be interesting to see how this goes. For the record, Turtle Rock was immediately Fire Rod locked, so if we did have an early dip without the Fire Rod, it wouldn't have gone anywhere at all.
If you're going to get Fire Rod locked out, immediately is definitely the best place for it. Minimizes the possibility of silly trolls on Laser Bridge or in Mimic Cave. And to answer chat, no, we have not seen the Eastern Palace area at all. We did see, I believe it was only Buane checked the back of Sahasrala's closet and then left the area without going into the dungeon.
Yeah, because that's where Buane got the shovel, which led to, I believe, another fetch quest. Yeah, but ended up being nothing useful.
Yeah, that's about accurate.
Also, keep in mind, for those of you in chat who are calling for a terrible bow location, there are 2 of them out there. That's one of the big changes for V31, is that the bows are now progressive. So, now that second bow could be literally just about anywhere, but at the very least, it's out there.
Yeah, Ganon's Tower is a fairly popular location for that second bow, which just ensures that logic forces you to one specific one.
Yeah, where functionally the difference between V31 and V30 haven't really changed at that point, because if you only have one bow that's going to be your progression bow that's going to, give you the access to the crystals you need to beat, then it doesn't really matter if that second bow is sitting over in GT or if it's the silver sitting up in GT. It will be interesting to see if Buane goes ahead and does a re-entry of Swamp, because we know there's nothing there.
We know that it's nothing of value, but it is still 2 items. That's a little bit of a hard sell when you're looking. Then again, when you're in a race, anything to save time.
Yeah, I have learned, especially with this tournament and the way that they this particular version likes throwing items around, that people make some interesting choices based upon where they think or don't think items could be.
And interesting choices are how you both win and lose races, especially 1v1.
And Argus is down.
Yep. We'll see if Buane goes and turns in that green pendant, whether it's before or after a left side of swamp play. Lin trying to throw his bombs, does the same thing twice, gets the exact same result twice. That's a little unfortunate. Buane not skipping left side.
Yeah, from Buane's perspective, knows that he needs 3 more items to be in go mode, so I'm not terribly surprised. I just know that some people absolutely despise left side swamp, as Linlinlin finally gets the superior boomerang.
Lin did not skip left side swamp. Buane is not skipping left side swamp. There is no time advantage to be had there. Also, hi Hammer, you're talking to one of the people that really hates left side swamp.
Hello, one of the people who really hates left side swamp.
Your dad.
I figured that last part went without saying, so I figured I'd just leave it.
Yes, but yes.
Alright, so Turtle Rock has given us pretty much nothing of value at this point. We do still have a couple of item locations left to check, but we are running out of them. So it's going to be down to Laser Bridge here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the Ice Rod. We could find something that could lead to the Ice Rod. But at this point, Linlinlin is really hoping for that Ice Rod.
Yeah, if he finds the bow here, then he could just take the safety door, save his portal, flute the Eastern Palace. And as long as he doesn't use the mirror after that, that would preserve his portal. There are still potentially 3 items on the bridge, 2 items on the bridge, or 1 in a map. Take your pick. Tragic.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. And it would be this could get really interesting mentally for our runners if we have a situation where there's something in Eastern, be it the Ice Rod or the bow. Especially if Buane does make this same check. It does look like we're going to get a death here really quick for Lin, because we want to keep that portal active. But yeah, so this could be interesting. If Eastern is our play, either with the bow or with the Ice Rod, then yeah, finding that in Eastern is going to feel absolutely tragic, even if both runners do the same thing.
Yeah, that pretty well sums it up. I don't know how well these runners are familiar with each other's habits to be able to guess whether they think the other runner would dip Crystal Eastern without a bow, but who knows? It's also worth calling out the Death Warp on Lin's side was because he didn't have his flute activated. He is solving that right now. If he saved and quit, he would have lost his portal at the Laser Bridge. So just trying to preserve that, and Buane found a bow on the pyramid.
Honestly, that's not going to feel very good either.
Oh yeah, that feels far worse than finding it in Eastern Palace. Far worse.
Alright, so we are still looking for the Ice Rod. And we're still looking for the Ice Rod.
Yeah, that's going to be a little while. Like at this point, it's probably somewhere in the pod Eastern area, but that's a lot of items and a very long time.
That's fair, but if it is in that pod Eastern area, with Buane having found the bow before going up to Turtle Rock, that's not going to be a good thing for Lin.
Oh no, Lin is in a very unfortunate situation right now. He's going to go clear Mire. He's going to get his crystal. If he routes it the same way Buane did, he won't be losing a significant amount of time. But at this point, I think Buane, his routing is going to just be a lot more efficient just because he's got that bow.
Yeah, the only potential thorn in Buane's side is that lack of Quick that's sitting in Pendant Skullwoods.
Yeah, but even if he finds the Ice Rod before that, it's not like he can get baited into Turtle Rock looking for that Quake. So really, I think he's in great shape here.
I am kind of surprised that Buane is taking the Light World option rather than getting into the Dark World just to have pod available if needed.
It makes sense to me. The walk to pod is exceptionally slow, especially relative to the walk to Eastern.
Oh,
Hey.
wow, Vanilla Boots.
And Buane is basically just gambling on not having to do pod at all. Like just trying to will that into existence.
honestly, with that boots pick up there, that makes things really difficult for Lin, because Lin was the first person to actually clear that green pendant and still hasn't turned it in yet. Probably really going to wish they had.
Yeah, I'm sure Lin will turn it in when he comes over to the pod eastern area, but who knows when that'll be at this point. It might be his first play after Meyer, but hard to say for sure.
Well, we're going to get a Meyer clear, and then we're going to get a desert clear. And as you pointed out, this routing becoming more popular because Lin is going to go ahead and get it out of the way as well. But we do have, so we're going to get Meyer, we're going to get desert, and then we might get the eastern area.
Yeah, doing those those locations in that order will equalize the crystal count at 6 apiece by the time Lin finishes. And no, to answer chat, Lin has not been to Sahasrara's hut at all. Not for the green pendant, and not for the 3 items in the back.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be another set of chasey items that Lin's going to have to deal with, because there was the shovel back there, which led to the mushroom, which led to nothing, I believe. So, yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, nothing is definitely correct there. Also, just to recap for chat a little bit, the Quake medallion that Buane is missing was in Skullwoods, the front part of it. Buane has just opted not to make that check so far this seed. And the Lumberjack Ledge was our 4th bottle.
Yep, however, we have not had a PED check. So for those of you who wish for that to still be alive, it needs to be Ice Rod, but it is still possible.
Chat can try willing that one into existence if they want to, but that's working about as well as Buane willing a not having to visit pod into existence.
Yeah, so far Eastern not coming up with anything terribly helpful for us. Meanwhile, Vitreous went down, and now we're going to go grab our 5th crystal.
Yeah, desert's pretty fast here, especially when you can just grab the big key out of the first chest. But at the same time, he could slow it down a bit by opting to full clear the front, looking for both items or an item before going to kill Manmolas.
Well, the second item was in the vanilla big key chest, so we're going to basically full clear desert no matter what.
Yeah, and it's basically a matter of how much of it he chooses to do before Landmolas as opposed to after, and he's choosing to do the whole thing after.
Which, honestly, we've seen that a lot. It's fairly common that people do that for Swamp, but then we saw both our runners make that play for Mire, and it paid off, and then make the play for Desert, which it doesn't really matter since Desert is more of a separated dungeon, so it's not really, it doesn't really matter either way. It looks like we are going to get a Skull Woods play here for Buane, or maybe just a PED check. So yeah, get your hype in chat. We're looking for that Ice Rod.
Yeah, if this was the dungeon play, he would have just used the Mitz portal. It had to be the check from the moment he took the long way. There it is. So Buane not in go mode. Not very far from it though. Once he finds that Quake, he'll be in go mode.
I thought it says it was a gold coin. Is that not Ether?
No, it said it was the Cold Rod.
Oh, never mind. I misread it. I thought I saw something about a gold coin. So yeah, we have Ice Rod on pay.
Yep. Now, unfortunately for Buane, he's taking Pod before Skull Woods. This is going to lead him to full clear Pod. That's probably pretty slow, but it does ultimately depend on where the big key is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Pod is a dungeon similar to Mire in that depending on the big key location, it could either be a very quick clear or a very not so much.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because if he had done Quake, or if he'd done Skull Woods first, he would have found Quake, then allowed to go mode this dungeon. So I guess the ultimate question... Oh, hey, there's your bow.
Huh. Oh, man, who put that there?
That's probably one of the greater bow locks I've seen, and it's been a while since I've seen that particular one.
Yeah, although technically it is more likely now in V31, so yeah, our boots were not required since we know where everything is, and it's not behind either of our boots locations.
Yep. At this point, though, the real question is just Linlinlin says, screw it, go check Ped. Because once he checks Ped, that'll put him in go mode. All he'll have to do at that point is boss rush.
Well, right, but Lin still needs to find that bow sitting on Pyramid or in Pod, for that matter.
You're right. I totally forgot he hadn't done that yet. That's my mistake.
It's okay. It's been one of those races.
So in that case, I guess the question is, where does he go next? It's probably going to be the Super Bomb turn-in if I had to guess. And then obviously doing that will put him on the Pyramid for his bow.
Exactly. So gonna grab the bow, and then that will probably drag him right over to the Pod area, which will allow him to get his boots as well.
Yep, but he still won't be go mode until he either checks or blind pulls the Ped, so...
And honestly, a blind Ped pull on Lin's side would be hilarious, because that's usually kind of a dying strategy of, well, this went really, really poorly. I'm just going to go ahead and really hope there's something here, because that's the only way I have a chance. And yeah, I would love to see I'd love to see Lin make a blind pull that actually ended up being useful.
I mean, at this point, I think it's more likely we see a blind pull where it's last location and he knows that it has to be it, as opposed to pull and pray. Because, yeah, chat's already calling it out. After Eastern and Pod, Lin is out of locations that aren't Ped. Like, actually just out.
Yeah, that is a good point. And honestly, so Buane checking the Ped there was a huge deal because it prevented him from going into Turtle Rock.
Yes, but with his routing, he couldn't have entered Turtle Rock anyways. Basically until he did all the pendant dungeons.
That's a fair point, because it still hasn't gone into Skull Woods to grab that Quake medallion.
Yep, and Skull Woods is going to be his last pendant at this point. Regardless, Helmasaur King down for Buane gives us the useless medallion, so it's going to be on over to Skull Woods for him.
Yep, and just 2 dungeons left, so in spite of the fact this is going to be a Ped pull, still making fairly good progress.
Yeah, Buane left some items behind. I was only partially paying attention to him over Lin's other clears. Just, we sort of know where everything is at this point. There's not much for Buane to possibly pull.
Like, yeah, at this point, I'm not sure there's anything for Buane to pull.
Yeah, if it's on the tracker, we know about it at this point. We know that the fourth sword is at the bumper ledge, and we know neither runner's going to be grabbing it. The only other thing that is missing on Buane's tracker is the red mail, which Lynn found. I thought it was in Swamp, but I'm misremembering, obviously, because Buane doesn't have it.
Laser Bridge was the other one, I think.
Oh, yes, Laser Bridge. Regardless, Buane's not finding that.
To those in chat who are asking, Buane has checked pedestal. It is a confirmed Ice Rod pedestal, so get your ped hype rolling.
Yeah, you can get your hype rolling, or you can just... Where else could it possibly be? Like, literally, once Buane checks these two chests, even if we didn't know ped, there would be literally 0 locations left. I guess Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb, so 2 locations left. Okay, 3 locations left.
But yeah, we've pretty much cleared the whole game.
Although, chat's calling out Shovel and Catfish. We did see those.
Yes. We saw Catfish at least. I don't recall if we saw Shovel.
Shovel was Mushroom, which led to Red Rupee.
That's right.
And Buane is going to last location. Well, not quite last location, but as far as Skull Woods goes, he's going to last location Quake, just because he's doing the back-to-front routing, because he knows he has to kill Moth to pull the ped.
And Lynn realizing that the big key is in its vanilla location.
Something is missing.
Yeah, the Ice Rod.
Regardless, can't fault Buane for his Skull Woods routing here. When you know you have to kill Mothula, and you can full clear it, you have the Fire Rod and Sword. Back to front is the standard routing, just because it minimizes the average number of checks you have to do. Just because Moth is one you have to make regardless of whether it has an item or not.
Oh man, see, I keep hoping when I commentate, I'll commentate a nice seed, but what is this? This is not a nice seed.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The seed could have been better for the runners, but at the same time, the real big things, Buane skipped out on Skull Woods for a long time, which means he missed his Quake. Could argue that as a plus, since it means he doesn't get baited into checking Turtle Rock. Both runners opted against ped checks with very early book. Like, just at no point did any of them do that before Buane gave in and finally did.
Yeah, and even that was a situation of, okay, my checks are rapidly dwindling. Let me just go ahead and get this one out of the way.
Yeah. And other than that, it's been pretty straightforward for the most part, I think. Like, you let the items guide you, and aside from ped, they'll take you pretty much everywhere you need to go.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of potential bait here, other than the Turtle Rock bait, which Lynn fell for kind of hard, which is super unfortunate. But there is our Ice Rod, so... yeah, not quite, but in just a couple minutes, Buane should actually legitimately be in go mode, because, yeah, Quake is right around the corner here.
If it takes him more than 60 seconds to pull it, I'm going to be really sad.
And Actually, Buane isn't going to check the bumper cave at all.
Nope. But even if he did, I would still be surprised to see him pull it.
Oh yeah, very much so. Especially at this point where you've pretty much last locationed everything, including Quake, unfortunately, because it's not here. And at an hour, 23 minutes, and 45 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and say, just so I can have ascending numbers, whether or not I'm a couple seconds off, Buane is in go mode and has everything in his inventory outside of that blue boomerang.
The blue boomerang was in Turtle Rock, right? Which means he'll pull it?
Mimic Cave, so he will not.
Okay, yeah, that's right. He may pull Red Mail just because there's a key on Laser Bridge. I believe the key was the top chest, so it really depends on if he does silly routes like bottom chest first.
Yeah, key was either the top chest or the second chest. I can't remember, but it was before the mail. So, yeah, if he goes top to bottom, we're not going to be seeing that Red Mail. If he does not, then we will. Meanwhile, Lin is going to go ahead and get Pod out of the way.
Yep, this is going to be a full clear for Lin. I'm trying to think. I think Lin did the boots checks. So I think he'll have, from his perspective, a 50-50 between this and Spike Cave once he finishes this dungeon. Or 50-50 between Ped and Spike Cave. Let me actually words correctly.
Right, but then on the flip side, you have to consider that Lin has not yet cleared Mothula. So that Spike Cave might seem a little more appetizing.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure which one he would go for first.
Yeah, so for those in chat who are asking, Lin does not currently know that the cool rod is sitting on the ped, so it is still kind of a toss-up from their perspective.
Yep, and that's what's going to lead this to be full clear Palace of Darkness for him, when unfortunately it really doesn't have to be.
Especially with that big key right there and a small key already, this could have been done so fast. Either way, at this point, unfortunately, it is Buane's race to win, or Buane's race to win or lose, I should say, because overall the routing was a little bit quicker. Grabbed boots much earlier from that green pendant, which gave some movement advantage. Got the flute first, so it's just been kind of a game of finding things a little bit easier, getting that movement advantage, and then obviously not making the second dip into Turtle Rock that Linlinlin's going to have to.
Actually, chat is raising one location. I don't think Lin ever went to Catfish. He's done the other locations chat's mentioned. They mentioned the sewers chest, which I guess technically Lin never did the Dark Cross, but he's done everything else, so he knows that chest is a small key and that he doesn't have to. He's also done the Bombos tablet. Okay, Lin did do Catfish chats. I don't know. I didn't think he did, but with the purple chest. All right. It's been a long race. I'm wordsing. I'm trying to remember things. I'm watching Buane clear Turtle Rock.
Yeah, this seed has been exhausting with possibilities and where things were, and the fact that we had something on ped. So yeah, it's... this is a seed that makes you really, really grateful that you're not doing back-to-back. That's for darn sure.
I think I've seen him in chat, so shout out to Zero Rush. Yeah, regardless, we're seeing 11 out of 12 dungeons this seed, if you count Ganon's Tower and Aga Tower as dungeons, which the all dungeons definition of the game does. And also, Buane is actually really good at vanilla all dungeons. Keep an eye on that. That's not relevant to Rando.
Yeah, no, but it honestly almost was, because we darn near had an Aga seed, and it looked for a bit like it was going to be.
Yeah, it looked like that for a little bit, especially with the super early Flipper's Hook combo. But then Mitts and Hammer both on the mountain sort of laid that to rest.
Yeah, so for those in chat who are still asking, Lin has no idea about the pedestal being the ice rod. Now, it is rapidly becoming more and more likely in Lin's mind as they clear pretty much everything else this game has to offer, but still no knowledge for certain. The only other location that we can think of off the top of our heads that Lin has not checked is going to be Spike Cave.
Yep. So at this point, it's a 1 in 3 in Lin's mind, considering Helmasaur King might also. But in about 20 seconds or so here, it'll be a 50-50 for Lin.
Yep, and speaking of 20 seconds, we're going to go ahead and get a Trinex fight out of the way. This is the last dungeon for Buane, and then we are going to get to finally get into GT upon clearing pretty much everything else this game had to offer. So, we do like playing a little game. There are 22 chests in the lower portion of Ganon's Tower that could contain the big key. Go ahead and put your guess in chat as to where you think that big key is as Trinex gets annihilated. 1 through 22. My friend, what is your guess tonight?
It's usually 10. That puts it in the rando room. Let's just say 1 and kill this seed, though.
Alright. I am going to go ahead and make a guess at the Fire Snake room, which, if we see traditional routing, is going to be 9, I believe?
Yeah, that's
so I'm going to
correct.
go ahead and guess 9.
Yep. Under traditional routing, Fire Snake room is the last chest before the rando room. First chest of the rando room is my usual guess of 10, so that would make it 9.
Cool. Although we have been seeing a reemergence of the modified Dark Magician route, which would be Compass room or Stelphos room first, and then a save and quit. In which case, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, 9 would be the second to last chest, or something of that nature in the Compass room. But we are getting left side, so we might see a Dark Magician modification, or we might just see full left side first. And with the heart there on the torch, Bob lives.
Yeah, Bob's gonna live. I wonder if we'll even get all the way down to him with the way Buane's routing this, especially if he mirrors out and goes right side afterwards.
And that is exactly what we're going to see. So 5 checks down, nothing useful so far. Time to go into Hope Room. 6 and 7 are going to be there, so I will have the second chest in the Compass Room, and you will have the third.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just... this routing, unless he goes from Compass Room all the way down to Ice Armos, Bob and Ice Armos are going to be the last chest we see. So,
Hey,
we mentioned Bob,
but
could. But regardless, we mentioned Bob, and with this routing, it reduces the odds he'll show up pretty significantly. So we'll only explain him if he shows up.
Well, we both had the room right, but looks like our correct guess is actually 11.
Well, that's fine.
Meanwhile,
And-
Lin is going to go ahead and pull that ice rod. Yay! 1 hour, 33 minutes, and about a second. Lin is in go mode, and just Turtle Rock left to clear.
Does have to trudge his way all the way through that rather long, very linear dungeon, though. And then Ganon's Tower on top of that.
Yeah, at this point, I wouldn't be terribly surprised to have both runners kind of expecting that dot done to occur at any moment here. Lin obviously more so than Buane because he did get sucked into that Turtle Rock play that ended up not helping out. But Ped seeds aren't good for anyone's mental health in terms of hoping that you're ahead.
No, but as long as you didn't do any extraneous dips like Lin's Turtle Rock dip, they're also pretty good at thinking, I might not actually be that behind.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but you have to keep in mind with both of our runners, you have to couple that with a basic full clear of the entire game.
Yeah, so it's basically, do you think you full cleared the game more efficiently than the other guy? Meanwhile, we didn't talk about it, but Buane cleared the gauntlet. Gauntlet's supposed to be hard. It's not actually that hard unless you're trying to go fast.
I mean, honestly, I've just tried to stop talking about the gauntlet. It makes me feel sad, because the gauntlet really genuinely is difficult, and these guys just fly through it like it's, you know, a walk in the park. These rooms are super nice, though. Kena Samaria makes these rooms a lot of fun, and when you can manage to get that room right there done in one shot, you feel pretty darn awesome.
So hey, you wanna know a secret? There's this little circle on the tracker with a lightning bolt inside it. If you use that item, the gauntlet is not hard.
Well, yeah, but that's cheating.
No, it's not. It's just slow.
Exactly, and in a game where you gotta go fast, you gotta go fast, Reg.
I do believe at one point the vanilla speedrun actually used medallions in the gauntlet.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me.
But yes, you are right. Gauntlet is, for casual players for sure, it's a challenge. It's not trivial. For speedrunners and good players like Buane and Lin, it really only becomes a challenge to try to do it really fast, though.
Meanwhile, Moldorm 2 goes down without a fuss. We are going to get a skipping of our last chest of the game. We are headed straight over to Aga 2. Well, which is Aga 1 for us, actually. It's the only darn thing we didn't have to see this game.
That saved us 5 minutes. I'm always happy to see that. Because it's 5 minutes in a randomizer where no checks or random things are being done. Key sanity accepted.
Right. Alright, so we got one hit and 2 bonks. Double there, probably only gonna... No, we're not having a bonk. Buane found that round acceptable. Another one, so we'll see at least one more bonk there, yep. And there we go. 1-2, 1-2.
Blue ball's making that slower than it should have been, but that's par for the course when you're fighting Aghanim.
Alrighty, so we have Tempered Sword, we have the Silvers. This fight will not be long. Well, extraneous amounts of teleports aside, this fight shouldn't take very long. Meanwhile, Linlinlin does go ahead and get their 7th crystal, so they get to do GT.
Yep. We'll see if they route it the same way Buane did, which will let them... Like, at this point, it's going to take a ridiculous amount of things to catch up, and frankly, those things would be super unfortunate. You don't generally want to see them, that level of misfortune on a runner. But
yeah, I have no desire to see full-on tilt, and that's exactly what it would be at this point.
But would still be nice to see Lin save time on the tower, for example. Just to show why he still made it to the top 32 and just how good he really is at this game.
I mean, at this point, I feel like Buane's lead isn't necessarily because of a difference in skill, rather than just a difference in routing. And the unfortunate part there are the fact that you can argue high probability checks and low probability checks all day long, But if the check is correct in terms of the specific randomizers that you are playing, as Ganon decides he just doesn't want to move ever, there we go, then you're going to come up ahead regardless of how mathematically correct or incorrect your routing was. But yeah, there you go. So Buane just has a 3x1 bridge to go ahead and cross, and once he does so, you can go ahead and get your GGs in chat. There you go.
Yep. Buane finishes the race in first place with a time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, 37 seconds. Takes a 1-0 lead in this series.
Yep, and Lynn is going to go ahead and route this a little differently and going to get the big key a little sooner.
And we are joined by the winner of the race, Buane. GG.
Hey,
did you have fun?
I did have fun. This was this was a frustrating seed until Boots showed up, and then it kind of just opened up and was a little enjoyable.
Okay, at that point with this seed, that's literally all I could ask for out of you.
Yeah, I mean, it was 1 hour Boots, but at least it meant, hey, Swamp wasn't for nothing. So that was a good feeling. Also, the fact that, hey, this is Boots. Of course, Swamp was open for a long time, so I wasn't sure, okay, Lynn could have very easily had this pretty early, done a lot of the Dark World checks that I did with Boots. That would have been sad, but the way the rest of the items kind of laid out, it wasn't feeling too bad. And in the end, for a Ped seed that I didn't know about for a pretty long time, this wasn't really a bad time at all. So not too much to complain about.
Yeah, so the amusing part there are the two things that you were worried about, mainly the knowledge of Ped and that green pendant. Lynn did clear Swamp a bit before you did, but didn't turn that green pendant in until pretty much last location. And then the Ped check, Lynn blind pulled it. So you had the advantage on both of those areas.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty understandable. Green pendant, I mean, it did have flute, but it's not exactly the most attractive one-off. I don't know, if I clear out green pendant, Swamp, and there's nothing, I'm probably going to prioritize the pendant turn in a little bit more than I normally would. If we'd gotten bow out of Swamp, then sure. I guess if we had got bow out of Swamp, it's pretty easy to turn a green pendant, but something like that. If there's had been something in Swamp, but it's kind of that, well, I hope it's something, because nothing else was in Swamp. It was easy for me, I guess, because immediately after Swamp I found the bow, so I mean that's pretty easy for me to get over to Eastern Palace and Sahasrahla for the turn-in. But yeah, a couple vanilla items: vanilla tempered sword, vanilla boots. Feeling not so great about those, but really it could have been really bad going into Skull Woods early, for example, and getting that Quake. I definitely would be double dipping Turtle Rock, so. A couple things pretty fortunate.
That was the thing we saw.
Yeah, exactly. So finding that in Skull Woods, I kind of said it's really pretty good, I'd say, in most cases for me. Just a lot of items early, kind of a weird Aga tease, but Aga felt kind of inevitable, but at the same time, like, if you just find a glove somewhere, the whole world opens up, so do you really want to go do Aga before you find a glove? It was kind of a weird start, but not really a seed, given the fact we had Mirror really early, and after you found the first glove, Mitts basically immediately, that's how you're able to get these, 140, 145 Ped seeds, because you're doing the rest of the world really efficiently. So it doesn't end up being something that's really too bad on the scale of, awful seeds.
Yeah, I do agree that the efficiency was on your side a lot more than Lynn's on point throughout the seed. Lynn had some pretty good routing, I thought, at some points. His fourth check of the game was Ice Rod Cave. That was actually pretty funny in my opinion. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely a couple pitfalls. Like, something that wouldn't be your fault. Going to Skullwoods early and finding Quake is almost always in this seed going to cost you a double dip of T-Rock, and it's not your fault. It's something very reasonable. If I had found Quake I certainly would have been saying, all right, there's few enough locations left that I'm okay going and looking for Ice Rod and Turtle Rock. So that's very understandable. And, when a seed comes down to that, it's kind of unfortunate. It's kind of like, well, I did this and he didn't do that. And that's, I guess, in some sense, the essence of rando. So what are you going to do? Sometimes it helps you and sometimes it hurts you.
So
yeah,
actually,
I think that about sums up this seed pretty well.
Yeah, I feel like the big early difference in terms of routing was that you went ahead and did the Zora checks first, and that got you the Moon Pearl, and Lynn did not have that, so Lynn actually grabbed the flute relatively quite a bit later than you did.
Oh, yeah. I really didn't deviate too much early game from just what I felt was really going to just be standard. There were a lot of options. You could have gotten very creative with early game route, especially as it started to look like Aga. There's a lot of stuff that you could have been saying, okay, well, if it is Aga, I could save, because you have the early mirror, so you're thinking about what can I save and combo post Aga. But the fact that we didn't have a glove or hammer, at least I didn't have a glove because I didn't get down to Agina for a while. The fact that I didn't have a glove or hammer kind of just kept dissuading me from saying I'll save all the flipper checks to do post Aga, combine it with Catfish, or I'll save the South Shore Dam and Agina and combo that with Hype Cave post Aga if I had Hammer. But none of that was coming to fruition because didn't have any pieces of Dark World access at all until 7 or 8 items in. So a lot of opportunities if you really wanted to get aggressive to be creative early, but in the end I kind of just chickened out and played it very standard for a while.
I would like to point out that right as you made the pitfalls comment, Linlinlin had a little difficulty hovering Moldorm too. Pretty funny.
We're on the same page, he and I guess.
Yep, he did get through that. He is in phase 3 of the Ganon fight right now, so not that far from done. Especially if he gets the same placement for silvers that you did. That was a little silly, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I need to probably learn to be, because you can get a double hit if he's down in the bottom corner there, but it's a little scary, and the fact that he warped so short both times meant that I can get 3 hits in one torchlight, so I guess it doesn't really cost me too much there, but yeah, weird Ganon warps, you don't usually see that.
Yeah, it wasn't a triple, but it may as well have been. Meanwhile, I think Lynn had a different cycle or a different phase 1, so he's getting a bit different warps here than what you had. But
Yeah.
He's got 4 arrows into Ganon, and that's going to be GG for him as soon as he crosses the bridge.
Yeah, we had someone not too long ago take a fall post Ganon, so I am not saying anything about GG until we cross the bridge to see the Triforce.
And that's Linlinlin done in second place with a time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 11. And he is here with us. GG, Lin.
GG.
Yo,
So,
GG.
did you have fun?
I actually did. I was pretty efficient, and my early route was kinda... It felt great until Flute.
I loved your early route. Like, straight up, I loved it.
Okay, so the reason I didn't go back for Desert and Dark Death Mountain was because I already read what Buane would have done. Basically, he came to Desert with the book, and he was on Death Mountain with the Pearl.
Yeah, both of those turned out to be completely accurate.
I mean, I'm not gonna follow him into what he checked. I know he was gonna check them, so I didn't want to check them. And then when I found the flute, I kind of felt miserable because it was on Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah. That's racing for you. You can try to get advantages, especially if you know what your opponent's not going to do, but sometimes it just doesn't pay. And
Yeah, especially like with flippers. Not even only with flippers. Like, if I get flippers, boots, or something to splash the lead, I will always go to Ice Red Cave after Lawsuit if I get bombs. And yeah, I found that sword, and then that led me to Agina pretty early, before CAC even. That actually felt really great, but yeah.
I was a little bummed. I love early Agina, but I didn't have a glove and had book and lamp, so I didn't even do dam. I was just gonna save dam and Agina and desert and make some kind of decision on Aga. I don't know. It was such a weird start. I feel like because the Aga was looking very realistic for a while, but at the same time, since I didn't have the glove for so long, I'm thinking if I just find a glove, the whole world opens up. I can do like all of Death Mountain. So I don't know if Aga was ever really a good option, but I'm thinking like maybe he does Aga. Like, is there a way he misses Agina for a while? So it was really hard from that point forward for me to have any confidence where you would be. And I think that kind of just forced me to kind of stay very standard for a long time. I was just basically doing the middle of the road option everywhere. And until I had to make the decision after ice, what do I do? And felt like I was still missing enough to go into swamp. That's really the first point where I said, okay, this is probably these next couple decisions are going to decide things. Now, luckily, I hadn't been to Skullwoods, because if I'd gone to Skullwoods early, I would certainly be double dipping Turtle Rock. So that kind of just ends up being pretty lucky for me that's where Quake is, and it ends up go mode for me and not go mode for you. So that's just one of those rando things, right? So nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I mean, about Swamp, like, I started High Cave, because I didn't have a flute, obviously. And you walk past Swamp the first time, because it's abandoned. And then when I had to turn in the purple chest, I'm literally walking past it a second time. I'm like, fine. I'll go.
Yeah, it feels so weird when it's green pendant, and like what practically the three first items we got were all, mirror flippers and hookshot, and you're like, I'm already looking at swamp. I talked to Sahasral at the 12-minute mark, and he's like, yeah, green pendant's in swamp. So I'm saying, oh my god. I purposely stayed away from Hype Cave for a little while because I didn't want to make the swamp decision until I'd cleared a decent amount of the Dark World, but in the end it didn't matter because I ended up in there eventually anyway. So it's one of those like you're saying, you don't want to go down there too many times without doing it. So what do you do? It's like you don't even have the opportunity to make a decision because it's going to pull you in there no matter what.
Yeah, basically I was just walking past it and I felt really, really bad just skipping it twice.
Yeah, at a certain point, if you walk past it twice, you're basically saying, I'm not because if I'm going to go there after I've walked past it 3 times, then why didn't I just go there the first time? So it's one of those really tough dungeons when it's green pendant to have any idea when to do it. It's like, do I do it immediately? Do I do it in the middle of the stuff that I'm doing? What if my opponent did it immediately? If I didn't do it immediately, do I skip it completely? So it's really hard, green pendant swamp, especially when you have all the items for it. When you arrive in Dark World, you can basically go in it. So what do you do? It's hard.
Yeah. Lynn, just on the topic of Swamp Palace, somebody left a message in chat that reminded me. Your green pendant turn-in timing, was that just tied to the bow, or was there something more behind it?
I mean, I literally had no reason to go to Sarsala. Why would I? I don't even have a bow. Why would I go to the eastern area at all?
Well, Sahasrara himself is 4 items when you have that pendant to turn in, but...
efficiency. Where's the efficiency in that, in just walking to Sahasrara?
Yeah, that's fair. I was just... I wanted to pick your brain on that a bit and see what your thoughts were.
Especially when, after Swamp, I'm literally going to ice, and I get Fire Rod. Sahasrara is, far.
That's another place where it was easier for me because I was missing that glove. So Sahasrara was pretty attractive to go and look for a glove there before I started doing escape and walk down to desert and things like that. So it was a little easier for me. When Sahasrara doesn't give you a reason to go there early, it can be something that ends up put off for longer and longer and longer because you need to be going over those dungeons to make any efficiency out of that, or have boots, which clearly we didn't have for a long time because you had to go there to get boots, and the bows were in weird places, both of them, progressive bows, very cool. yeah, it's like the early game really had some opportunities to really mess with the rest of the seed. A lot of times, sometimes you hit Dark World and okay, what you've done in the early game stops mattering once you get to Dark World, and other times it's like when you hit Dark World, what you've done in the early game continues to kind of ripple out, and this was one of those ripple seeds where me not getting the glove for a long time kind of got me things that Lin didn't have and gave me reasons to go places that Lin hadn't gone. And Lin's early game getting that glove earlier made it very reasonable to do all the things that it sounds like he did. So it's like
it's just basically like it was kind of easy to kind of to read what your early route was. Like I'll put it like this: for me, it was really easy because I knew what the glove was locking and where it was, and what you had when you got that glove. So I knew you were going to that. Like it was easy for me to read that early game that you did. I knew you were going to Sahasrara as well. That's also another reason I didn't go, because I'm pretty sure you went to Sahasrara before going to desert.
Sounds like I'm easy to read. I mean, if Ice Rise just in Turtle Rock, it sounds like you're definitely taking this one. So, if I'd found Quake, that's what I was thinking late game. Like, if I found Quake, I'm going to T-Rock. And when I found out Ice Rise on the pedestal, I'm really happy, because that means Quake is my go mode. And with where Ice Rod is, wherever Quake ends up, basically, if you had found Quake first, you're double dipping T-Rock. So that's kind of what I was rooting for at that point. Not that I felt terrible with the way it had played out, but these not hundo seeds, these seeds that make you do a lot of things, really hard to tell which way they're going to go. And in a 1v1 against Lin or anybody in the top 64, 32, however many people are left, I mean, anybody can beat anybody. So, I can lose by 20 minutes or I can win by 20 minutes. And in this kind of seed, it was really tough for me to tell where I am. But once pedestal was Ice Rod, I liked where I was, just on the fact that I hadn't had any disasters yet. So that's at that point I started feeling okay. And then of course it turns out you did exactly what I was kind of hoping for when I found those item locations. Like, if you just did Skull early, he's going to get Quake, he's going to go to T-Rock, and that's a couple minutes that I've got an advantage on now. So, it's sometimes the seed's real simple. It comes down to that one choice or two choices, and unfortunately that's sounds like what happened here.
Yeah, that's also a reason I like that. I actually like that seed despite losing. It's just like I was able to read a lot of things in that seed. Also, it was actually very fun to me to try to. I know I'm at disadvantage concerning execution, so I need to make those kind of plays to actually read what you're gonna do and adjust my plays accordingly. And that's what I liked about that seed.
Okay, in game 2, I'm going to just do things I would never do now to throw you off, so watch out.
Anyways, I would like to continue listening to you guys talk about this, but we do have another race on this channel in about 3 minutes now. We're going to have Act the Boker and Megawatt, so I'm unfortunately going to have to ask you guys to wrap up here unless you've got any real quick 2-second last words.
Last word is I already decided when we're going to play. We're going to play MC Shuffle tomorrow.
Cool.
All right. So with that on the table, stick around, Chad, if you want to see another race coming up literally immediately after this within 2 or 3 minutes. Follow this channel, twitch.tv/speedgaming. Follow Speedgaming 2 through 6, ALTTP Randomizer, ALTTP Randomizer 2 through 5. Follow the runners. I'll get their links in chat real quick.
Yep, and while we're at it, shout out to Nifboy, who was pushing all the buttons. This was a long race with a bunch of buttons to push, since we pretty much cleared the entire inventory. So shout outs to our tracker there. And yeah, enjoy this next race. I hope it's a little kinder than this one was, although I'm fairly certain that most of chat is hoping for more of the same.
Yep, we'll be seeing you guys over some other race, and we're going to hand it off to the crew for the next one.
Alrighty, so until then, have a good night, everyone.